welcome everybody to the December 20th, 2022 City Commission meeting. We're going to do roll call.
Josh Jones.
Here.
Tim Van Hookey.
Here.
Edwin Woloff.
Here.
Matthew Wells.
Here.
Katie Harrington.
Here. Flexley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, during this Christmas season, let our hearts be open and acknowledge that love came into this world, held safely within a gentle womb. All the truth, majesty, and creativity of a loving God was placed into this one tiny heart. He made a quiet entrance into our world in a dark and uninviting environment. And one lone star shone bright in the evening sky, and the songs of angels led a handful of people to him. This young mother, Mary, and her husband, Joseph, were joined by men of wisdom and a group of shepherds searching for the truth. They came to bow before this child and rejoice that their Savior had arrived, that the Word of God had become flesh, and the incredible transformation of heaven and earth had begun. Through this Christmas gift of your only Son and his teachings, we know that when the songs of the angels have stilled, when the star in the sky cannot be seen, and when the kings have gone home and the shepherds have returned to their fields, then, Lord, we know the work of Christmas truly begins. Almighty God, we pray to continue as a city and nation of your children, to lift up our prayers for the salvation of sinners, to heal those broken in body and in spirit, to provide food for the hungry and shelter for the homeless. Let us receive your grace to forgive one another, the strength and wisdom to rebuild our community, and the voice and actions to extend your peace and love to all people in your name. We pray we will make joyful music with our hearts, and project the light of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ, always in all that we do and in all that we say. Then, God, we will know that the work of Christmas, our work of Christmas, has truly begun. God, we pray that you will fill all of our hearts with the true spirit of Christmas. We thank you and give you glory for the many blessings you continually rain down upon our community and our world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Next, we need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Yep, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woloff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes. Next is the proclamation. Chief Shelton will be up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Commissioners. Yes, what I'd like to do is we picked out highlighted three cases that we wanted to recognize officers throughout this last year. And it's tough because there's many more, but we picked out three. The first one we want to talk about, and I would just like to read a brief synopsis of these three cases. First one has to do with not only us, but the Sheriff's Department and Fire Department as well. So on December 14th of 2021 at 7:25 hours, Fort Scott Police and Fire Departments were dispatched to 802 Shepherd Street, Highland Apartments, for a structure fire. Fire personnel began suppression measures, and officers went door to door evacuating people from their apartments. Heavy smoke and fire was coming from the second story of the north building. As members of the fire department was preparing to enter, a female subject appeared from the second story window where the smoke and fire was coming from. She communicated briefly with our first responders and grabbed a small child. The adult female then dropped the child from the second story window apartment when FSPD Detective Jason Eastwood, Bourbon County Sheriff's Deputy Trey Sharp caught the child from the ground level. A ladder was placed alongside the building, and the woman was brought down to safety as well. So I'd like to recognize Sergeant Peyton Blythe, Sergeant Tim Harper, Detective Sergeant Jason Eastwood, Deputy Sharp, and Corporal John Carpenter for their work in this case. Come on up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chief Bruner, you want to go ahead and?
So basically the same synopsis that Chief Shelton was talking about. I just want to say the fortunate thing that we have in our town is the workmanship and the collaboration that we have between the Fort Scott Police Department, Bourbon County Sheriff's Department, and EMS. We all work together. This was actually an apartment complex, so they were able to take care of that while we set up and extinguished the fire and contained it to just room and contents. So there was only, I think, two apartments, I believe, that were shut down, and they had to find another place to live for a little bit. So I just want to thank the police department, sheriff's department, EMS, all of them to work together to do this. Also, when they responded, the crew that responded, Captain Darren Hutchison, Lieutenant Travis Mawini, firefighter Chris Anderson, firefighter Jonah Hall, and firefighter Andrew Kirksey. This was another call that came right at shift change. So this was the initial crew that was there, but then when we have a fire, we do an all call. So I think pretty much everyone had showed up to this call. So yes, if I could have those guys, the ones that are here. Thank you.
I've got two more. Okay. So on February 16th of 2022 at 15:01 hours, 3:01 in the afternoon, Fort Scott police officers were dispatched to the bridge on US 69 highway at Wall Street for a man who was straddling the rail of the bridge over Wall Street. Sergeant Bill Downey, Sergeant Brian Thurston approached the man who was very emotional, while Detective Eastwood, Sergeant Garrett, and School Resource Officer Mike Trim stopped traffic. Sergeant Downey negotiated with the man who was contemplating jumping. When Sergeant Thurston arrived on scene, they were able to remove the man from the edge of the bridge and transported him to the hospital where he could get help. I'd like to recognize Sergeant Chris Garrett, School Resource Officer Mike Trim, Sergeant Brian Thurston, Sergeant Bill Downey, and Detective Eastwood for their work on this case. I guess now it's retired Detective Brian Thurston. So. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And Chris wasn't feeling well, so we got his. And then finally, October 13th, 2022, at 18:06 hours, 6 in the evening, Fort Scott Dispatch received multiple 911 calls reporting a man on the top railing above the safety fence at 6th Street Crossing over 69 Highway. Officers responded and found the man to be very emotional and contemplating jumping. Officers negotiated with the man for approximately 30 minutes while he was standing at the top of the structure. Finally, after pleading with the distraught man standing at the edge of the structure, he climbed down. Officers were able to take him into custody and get the help he needed. And like I said, I've watched the body cam footage on all these. They're very stressful, and you almost have those hopeless feelings. But I would like to recognize Sergeant Harper, Corporal Carpenter, and Officer Garner. Officer Garner is at the police academy right now, so he's not here. But Sergeant Harper just said our Officer Garner was only 3 weeks in on that, and he was right there in the middle of things. I'll let Chief Bruner have it, but I just want to say that we all should be proud of our emergency services, communications, EMS, Sheriff's Department, Police Department, Fire Department. We have a good bunch of folks. So thank you.
Okay, I've got it's kind of unique. I have 3 shifts on the department, and all 3 shifts were involved in a heroic life-saving event. So the first one will be Shift A. This will be on April 29th to 22. Shift A was dispatched to reported smoke detector activation with unknown problems. Engine 1 and Engine 2 responded. On arrival, Engine 2, smoke detectors could be heard going off outside the residential duplex. Lieutenant Shelton and Firefighter Keys made entry into the structure and encountered heavy smoke. A victim was located laying just inside the front door. The victim was removed by the entry crew and taken outside for treatment and transport by EMS to the ER. The remaining occupants of the duplex were evacuated safely, and the fire was extinguished quickly once that victim was removed. And then a few days later, the victim was discharged from the hospital. So Captain Clint Roberts, Lieutenant Scott Shelton, Firefighter Andrew McGee, and Firefighter White Keys. For this shift, the same shift, on December 7th of 2022, the shift A was dispatched to a reported motor vehicle accident with a vehicle on fire and a trapped victim, just right out here on 54 and 69. On arrival, crew observed a full-size truck that had rear-ended a semi-truck. The pickup was on fire and the victim was trapped inside. The crew was able to extinguish the fire while using extrication tools, free the victim and transport him, and free the victim to package him for transport by EMS. The victim was transferred to a nearest trauma center for treatment. So in this one, we have 4 per shift, 2 per truck, basically. One truck was able to do the extrication while the other was extinguishing the fire. So this group here will be the same: Captain Clint Roberts, Lieutenant Scott Shelton, Firefighter Andrew McGee, and Firefighter White Keys. Shift B, on November 20th of 2021 at 4:31 in the morning, Shift B was dispatched to a reported vehicle fire. Engine 1 and Engine 2 responded. On arrival, the passenger car was located off into a ditch fully involved with the fire. initial attack was made, and once the fire was knocked down, Captain May and firefighter Thomas began searching for occupants. An occupant was found in the driver's seat, unresponsive. The occupant was removed from the vehicle and treatment began. The victim was breathing and had a pulse when they removed him from the vehicle. During assessment and further injuries, the victim went into cardiac arrest. CPR was initiated by the fire crew, as well as AED applied. Once the patient was loaded into the ambulance, a pulse was regained. Further care continued, and the patient was flown by air ambulance to a trauma center. Unfortunately, the victim did succumb to his injuries on January 24th of 22. This crew that responded was Captain Jacob May, Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, firefighter Ryan Thomas, and firefighter Tristan Branham. And like Chief Shelton said again, we have a great group of emergency services people. Very proud of them, what they do, and we're very fortunate that everyone works together when we need them. So thank you.
Thank you to all you guys for all you do. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Brad, the only question I had was on item number E. Did we find out about the fuel charge?
Yes, we did. I talked to them, and we will be getting a credit for over $2,000 for that. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes. Do we have any public comments? Sorry, I meant to grab that while I was on. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the old business. Resolution number 48-2022. Direction of the repair of Allied Unsafe and Dangerous Structure located at 523 South Heilman. Is Russell going to talk about that?
Are you going?
Or Norman?
Well,
Norm?
yeah, he's not here, so Norm would.
Norm? Is this yours, Norm? Is this your location?
No, it's not. Thomas is on vacation this week, so if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.
So since our meeting on the 6th, have you or Thomas been back by there again and assessed the current
Thomas
situation?
went by there, and in your packet this evening, he should have a update from the packet he made for the commissioners. There has been one new development that happened, I'm gonna say maybe over the weekend, some type of a wood burning or some kind of a burning apparatus has been installed inside the house with a pipe running outside of a window up under a porch, which doesn't come close to any codes, but indication that people are living there trying to keep a little warmth going. So, and I have pictures of that if anybody's in question of it. They're not very good pictures because it's kind of dark today and it's under a porch throwing shade. So.
And then there were also extra additional inoperable vehicles that have shown up since we asked that items be cleaned up.
As of today, there was one.
Just one?
On
Okay.
the property. The gentleman that's living there is parked on the street, but on the property there was just one in.
Okay. And did you see any indication of the tires or the additional trash or the improvements to the barricades of the doors and windows? Had any of that been made when you were there today?
Nothing that has changed since when Thomas took his pictures. Nothing is. The only thing that Thomas and I noticed was the Try
The
to keep
unsafe
warm
fire,
apparatus.
yes. Thank you, Norm. I will motion then that we proceed with going out to bid for the demolition and removal of this structure.
You have resolution number 48, 2022.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes. Brad, why on water been shut off to this location?
Pardon me?
Water been shut off?
Why hasn't it?
Oh, there's still consumption.
Said in the report, I believe I read that it said it had been shut off finally.
I'd have to look into that. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Yes.
Yes.
From what I understand, I don't have no proof of
Did they
this
tamper with
myself,
that?
but from what I understand, the city did shut it off and locked it, but it has been tampered with and turned back on.
So the lock been cut?
To my understanding, yes.
We need to talk about that also.
I would just maybe tomorrow.
Hold the meter.
Have the meter pulled.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad.
No, you're fine.
Okay, next is consideration to move forward with the Lake Fort Scott project. Brad?
Yes. I was asked to bring the amount in the lake fund. I did give that to you in the assistant city manager report. As of today, there's $473,455 available. That's from the sale of the lots. We have, the only thing we've taken out of that so far is for the docks, and I think that was 10,000. Doug is here to help if we have any questions. So with that, you had the quotes for the 2-inch meter and water. Now that you've got to understand that 84,000 is just to put a meter at the west side of the lake. That's all. To go to the shelter house, we'd have to get another quote, of course, and it's going to be substantially more than just 84,000. So, like I said, Doug's here if you have any questions for that.
Yeah, what items have been taken out from the original budget? That's
Just
there?
the
survey?
dock. The docks is the only thing that's been taken out. We have open right now. We have the dam work, which is $32,000. We've not put the invoice in yet.
Okay.
And we'll have some engineering on that also.
Okay. I thought the surveys were taken out of that as well, but I mean, these were done.
Yeah,
before I
it's
came
probably
on
already
board,
out
so-
of the, yes.
Okay. So that's good, but I mean, to clarify, you're saying that original price you put in here of $84,000, we thought was going to include the meter and the rock sawing, and now we're finding out it's just to set the meter
That's the rock sawing
No,
up to the meter.
up to the meter.
Yes, to bring, from my understanding, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, that's bringing a 4-inch line all the way from the airport, a 4-inch main connecting there, running that all the way over, rock sawing, and then providing the 2-inch meter set.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. And that the meter set will be, if you're familiar with the lake and the property where the brush pile usually sits, it'd be in that vicinity. Okay. But that's where it would stop. The water line would stop right there at the edge of the road. Okay.
So as far, Doug, as the other stuff that we had kind of put up on the whiteboard here that day, the restrooms and stuff like that, I mean, correct me, I mean, I want to make sure we get the stuff done we need to get done. But correct me, I mean, I thought someone had told me that as far as restrooms go, that trying to put anything under that existing shelter house would be extremely difficult because of the rock that is there.
So, I mean, the existing shelter house would have to be retrofitted, and it would be, a bathroom would need water and sewer and electric. So, all the utilities would have to be run regardless of where they're going.
Yeah.
So if they have to go to that, the existing pavilion, it would have to be, the concrete slab would have to be cut out. We'd have to dig and put utilities in. So whether we put it in the existing building or built a new building.
Yeah, I thought we had talked about doing a cinder block standalone bathroom, shower.
And I believe you all received that in a packet. I couldn't tell you how long ago.
Yes,
but
we got a quote from Mid-Continental from Frank Halsey. I believe it was $113,000 to build the concrete structure with bathhouses, showers, male and female.
So to do that, also it would require
The utilities.
the utilities, and what was not included in that was any kind of bathroom facility. There is a forced main sewer line that would be needed to be connected, so it would need a lift station, and what are they, sewer chewer, grinder pump, that kind of thing, and then a holding tank to facilitate all that as well.
Okay. And since Rob's here, I know Rob hadn't been here, can we possibly get a quick 5 to 6 minute executive session? If you don't mind. Is that good? I mean, if we're going to talk about this, I think there's some information that might, so real quick, I'll move to the city commission recess and executive session for the purpose of financial affairs of a corporation pursuant to the financial affairs of trade secrets corporation, partnership, trust, individual proprietorship exception in KSA 75-4319B4. In the meeting will be the 5 commissioners, the city manager, the assistant city manager, the city attorney, and Rob Harrington.
Can we also request that Doug Gunn be in this?
Yeah,
please.
and Doug Guns.
Thank you, sir.
10 minutes will be plenty. And then for 10 minutes, and then it'll open back up into the commission room. So at
1838.
Yep, 6:38. And we can, since there's so many, we'll just stay in here. If that's good.
I'll second.
Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Edwin Wollo,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Motion, we come out of executive session.
Yeah, no action.
Oh, come on now. All right, somebody else do the motion. I already made mine.
Motion to come out of executive session, no action.
Second.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
At this time, I would move, well, I would ask Brad to get quotations for upgrades on the shelter house.
I
out at the
have
lake.
quotes for downspouts and guttering, thanks to Doug. And also, we would like to put some paint and clean that area up so it can be used in the coming spring. Take that money out of the lake fund.
I will motion that we do the improvements on the shelter house.
I see that. I don't think we had a copy of that in the agenda.
Guttering, downspouts.
It's like,
What-
it's like
What was the
5,500.
first motion? Did we not we didn't finish that?
From who? Sorry, Lisa.
I think it was,
The motion that we're currently making is to move forward with the repairs to the shelter house
Right.
from this purchase order, which includes the 6-inch guttering at 1,650.
1,400.
1,400.
Sorry, my glasses are not good. 1,400. And then how much on the paint?
We don't know yet on the
Okay.
paint.
Okay.
We'll wait until it
Doug?
gets a little warmer.
Yes, please.
Paint will source locally, and then also, my crew would do that work. We wouldn't contract that out, we'll do all the painting.
Okay.
Plan on putting patient board up, before the guttering went on, so we need supplies for that, and that's also my crew would take care of that. So most everything we're gonna source ourselves and do all the work ourselves, we won't contract out, do it, we can't do it.
I mean, so just so we have a number, I mean, do you think $3,000 is a fair number? So
Okay,
I would just amend the
3,000
motion.
in addition to the 1,400, or
I just
all
3,000
total.
total.
Yeah, total.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just amend your motion.
I would amend that motion, Lisa, to do the improvements to the shelter house, including the guttering, fascia board, painting, etc. items up to $3,000
it's second.
to be used out of the lake fund.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
And as far as the additional item, at the behest of the lake board, I will motion that we move forward with the electric and the installation of the water at the site designated
This quote.
with this quote.
I think that quote was just for the water, wasn't it?
There is a quote for the water at 84,344. And then Doug, the quote for the electric that we all received was 16,000. Is that correct?
I think it's
5,400. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want everybody to understand, like, the water is just for the meter set.
Mm-hmm.
The electric is just for a meter set.
Mm-hmm.
So, to expand on any of that, we would have to contract out some work to run water lines.
This says for total materials and rock sawing.
That's two. Yeah, he just wants
That's
us
just to the
understand.
meter, but
It's
everything
to this
from
point.
the meter outward.
We will.
Yeah, whatever we have to do to cross the road and get it to the bathhouse, all of that.
A lot.
To do that work, we would have to, generate an RFP, get a
Mhm.
scope of work. Go through two roads. The electric is just for a meter. They're gonna run an overhead line to one of the existing poles, add a transformer, and set a meter. Now, after that, we would have to contract an electrician to put in a service panel. Any additions after
Mhm.
that, we need some engineering.
Yeah, we'd have to go out and get quotes on what it's going to cost to rock saw and put everything to the central location and all of that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should wait with
I do too.
possible development out there, I would say we wait at least 60 days to see what comes about.
I understand if that's the will of the commission. I accept that as on the behest of the Lake Board and what they have requested that I do. I wanted to make sure that I brought forth the motion on their behalf.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the motion. I just think that, there's some things that, I think if any time we can use private dollars instead of taxpayer dollars to do stuff like that, and I would think the Lake Board would
Be understanding.
be understanding, yeah.
Can we table this? Well,
I think
all
you
we
would-
have to
I think you
hold
would-
it-
First, my
just
motion,
Hold
yeah.
it for 60 days.
Yeah.
Brad, were you going to ask about
Yes. I'll let you know. Thank you.
Brad, anything else on the Fort Scott project?
Not on that, no.
Okay.
We're good, thank you.
Next is Memorial Hall bid documentation from Jason.
Do you have
Engineering.
documents for us? Because I thought the due date, well, I saw the one in the packet, the pictures of the stairs. But Lisa, has that bid gone out? No. It hasn't gone out yet?
Yes, it's gone.
Yeah, I think
Because it's due back like the
published.
24th of January, right?
It's been published, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, if there's any questions on that tonight, so it'll be, basically it's been advertised, so they have to bring in their bids on the 24th of January. And then we'll open them and see what we get. And that did include, I know there was a question about the little brick columns down at the base needing some repair, so I added that in there so they can do some tuck pointing, clean those up.
You get that? So.
I might add that Jason has provided, when we get to director's reports, he's provided a status of all the projects so that we can keep track of this. That'll be real helpful when we get into our capital improvement work session, which will be January 10th at 4:30 p.m.
I might have said 4.
Well, Matt has conflict on every time period, and he's asked
If we can do it at 4:30.
4:30 would work better for me too.
Anyway, I was going to bring that up, but I just wanted to make note that we're providing a status report each time Jason is. Thank you.
With dates,
With dates?
just so I know when a project starts and
Yeah.
what time it goes to each phase,
I don't think I got into that much detail, but I can if you'd like.
Just curious, like when we started talking about Memorial Hall and then when we.
I don't know if I was here.
Whatever happened to that $2.5 million campground we were putting in? Where's that at, Jason?
It's still, pending
Still
final approval.
2.4999 short.
It's on his report.
I gave that all to Doug Guns. That's his baby.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Next is appearances. Michael Clancy.
He called and he had a conflict, so he will be here at the 10th.
Great. So that's been moved to January 10th. Next, Bourbon County Economic Development, an update on National Historic Grant for Memorial Hall repairs.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commission. It's Bourbon County Regional Economic Development. That's okay. Can you? I don't know if I have enough for everybody. I think I do, but sorry, I forgot my notes. By now, everyone knows who I am, so I'm not going to go through that. I was asked to come give an update over our year for Bourbon County Regional Economic Development in 2022. so I'm going to come do that. I did propose. I wrote a short letter, just basically overviewing what we've done. It's one page, front and back. Can I have one of those counted correctly? How about that? But anyway, please read this at your own time, so I don't take up too much time this evening. But I wanted to go over a few things. This last year, Bourbon County Ready did a few things that obviously were everything we do is countywide. So we're the Bourbon County Regional Economic Development Incorporated. So everything we do is to encompass the entire county and what's best for the citizens of the entire county and not just one area. But as we know, being the largest community in the area, the county seat, the area with the most retail, housing, and et cetera, Fort Scott is going to benefit greatly from any growth that we see across the entire county. With that being said, this last year, Bourbon County Ready did pay for 3 studies that you received prior to tonight's meeting, or should have received. One, a retail study, one, a housing study, and another labor study. Those studies together cost roughly $45,000 of what Bourbon County Ready paid for. The retail study, the housing study, and the labor study all separate. Never done all 3 together at the same time. However, one plays off the other, and so we felt it very necessary to just go ahead and do all 3. Usually a lifespan of these studies is about 3 years, so we shouldn't need to do another study unless there's significant change in the housing, the labor, the retail industry in Fort Scott for the next 3 years. Now, with that being said, there are some unusual findings in some of the, not unusual, I guess it would be optimistic findings in some of the reports. One, specifically the housing report. The consultant who did the housing report has done several of these, and looking over other housing reports, he said what was different in the Bourbon County housing report was normally the issue in housing in a rural community or rural county such as Bourbon County is the fact that affordability outweighs the availability of the housing. So what that means is there is housing, however, people who live here cannot afford the housing. In our case, it's actually vice versa. The affordability is not the issue, it's the availability of housing. So in their opinion, a developer or individual could come in and build housing from, and I believe the amount was about $150,000 to about $230,000, and be able to fill those housing, those residences, as well as rentals anywhere from $800 to $1,100 they feel that would fill. So in our case, it's more we do not have the housing. It's not that our housing is overpriced, which he's never seen before. He couldn't really put a finger on why that is, although we're happy to have that because we can solve the availability issue by building more housing. It's a lot tougher to, solve the affordability when you're looking at overpriced housing, especially with the current interest rates and things that banks have, which puts a struggle on developers and home buyers. So the second thing, retail. Obviously, we have a lot of great opportunities in retail here in the Fort Scott and Bourbon County area. Part of the retail was restaurant. I will point out that when this survey was done, we had another restaurant that we do not have now. And so I would assume the survey would change on wanted types of food in this community compared to what it was. However, with that being said, the survey at the time did state that the people who answered the survey wanted Italian, American, such like an Applebee's or a Golden Corral type restaurant, and then a bakery was the top 3. With that being said, family style, white tablecloth, like a crooners type restaurant, fine dining. And then the other one, I can't remember what the third one was. But those are the type of restaurants that stood out in the survey. And then as well, when you look through the survey, just so you know, when it says location quotient or leakage, the higher the leakage, the more opportunity there is in our community. So if there is $1 million worth of leakage in our community, that means $1 million leaves our community to go buy that specific product every year. So where there wasn't any leakage would be like cars, buying cars. There's no leakage there. Everybody buys their cars that lives here from here, right, Josh? And gas stations, there was no leakage there because we have several gas stations. But there was leakage in furniture, there was leakage in electronics, there was leakage in clothing, there was leakage in a lot. So when you look through that report, please notice the green means go numbers, because those are, and the higher those are, the better opportunity we have to fill those types of stores in our communities. Now, with that being said, also remember that again, the surveys were done countywide. So you might see something where you think, well, we've got plenty of those in Fort Scott. I don't know why that would be ranking that high in the needs. Well, because people from the western half also commented on this survey. So that might also be something that Uniontown, Bronson, those individuals want to see in their community, and that's why it ranked high in that survey. Finally, the labor study. No secret, there is labor challenges. We're not the only community across the United States facing this. It's an epidemic across the country where I hear an echo in the back. It's driving me crazy. So, but we're seeing high rates of people that are choosing not to work.
Just crack it a little bit. It's got to be open.
Well, it's fine. I can deal with it. I'm just catching myself saying things like 3 seconds after I say them, so it's freaking me out. So there's a high amount of people who are staying home or not working that could be working. That's just normal across the board. What we do about that, there are some suggestions in the report. Please feel free to read through that if you have any questions on some of the areas that the consultant recommends that we target. One of the areas is creating a business retention and expansion group arm of Ready that will work with local small businesses and businesses that already are here to help them with their workforce struggles. That individual, we were lucky enough to bring, I believe back on this summer, you were introduced to Mr. Tayton Majors, who was our intern at the time. He left, went to Wilson, Kansas, and is having the opportunity to come back in January to work with us again through his Lead America group. And so Ready is going to take on that salary for Mr. Majors, which is partnered with the Lead America group. They pay half, we pay half. And he is going to work on business retention items, and he's also going to be able to help Mr. Tuff with some tourism work on the websites and social media as well. So we bring him back hopefully in January, which will be good. More feet on the ground, more hands doing the work. This last year, Ready has worked with the city on a few grants. Just recently, Emily submitted a storm sign grant for the city for approximately $52,000. Could be a little more than that. We're waiting to hear back on that. That was through USDA. Tonight, and I'm going to discuss this here in a little bit, it's why I'm on the agenda, but tonight we submitted the Memorial Hall grant at 4:45 tonight. So that was a fast come together, but we were able to put everything together as a group, staff here at the city, staff at Ready, individuals, to put together what I believe is a really great opportunity, really great application. So we're looking forward, and I'm optimistic in that. And then your very own Madam Mayor, Mrs. Bancroft, and Ready was able to put together and be successful in your Horton grant, street grant that you were awarded. And so we were able to help with that as well. We also put together a sales tax revenue study. That sales tax revenue study was needed for some of the projects that we're looking at for next year. It's a requirement. It was asked. That was 25,000. Josh, is that right? 23, 25, somewhere right there. Again, we paid for that. Normally, that would be something the city pays for through the private developer, PGAV. However, Ready did take on that cost and did that study. So that study is not available at this time because it does hold some confidential information about the specific company. And so as soon as that is public knowledge, that will be revealed to the public. Finally, no secret, the Legacy Health Group took possession of the hospital, the building which was formerly known as Mercy Hospital. They took possession of that about a month ago, I would say. And since that possession, they've been able to bring in a cardiologist, a urologist, and then they were also successful in keeping Mr. King located in the facility as well. So in a very short time, they were able to do contracts or agreements with these individuals to bring care to this community. Just a note I'd like to pinpoint, and I know I remember Mr. Farmer's reaction when this statistic came through, but heart, if you remember, Bob, you are 2 times more likely to pass away from a heart condition in Bourbon County than anywhere else in the state of Kansas. 2 times more likely. So having a cardiologist coming to our community is not just important, it's life-saving. It's so needed. And so that was the first thing they were able to do, is get a cardiologist to come to town. So we're very excited about that. And then it's no secret, because they were there last week, they're also working with the school district to bring the preschool and the Head Start facility to the basement of the building, which will almost double their capacity that they have now at the current facility, and allow a lot of children the opportunity to get early education that currently cannot get that because of the amount of kids that are. There is a waiting list for preschool right now that is astronomical, in my opinion, and a community this size, we should try our best, and the school has been working very hard to get this done. I commend Mr. Brown and the school board on the work they've done to try to expand the preschool here and focus on early childhood, and Mr. Shelton's wife as well. I'll point that out. But they're getting it done, and I'm looking forward to the agreement, hopefully in the very near future, as they are, to where we can start moving forward and almost doubling the preschool children's, the opportunity for preschool education here in our community. And so those are some things we all had a hand in. Ready had a hand in some of that, or all of it. With that being said, I would take questions on any of this. I would like to point out, I forgot to say this, Ready also gave out $35,000 worth of small community grants this year to communities throughout the county. And so, you add up everything we've done, the services we've been providing, I think we can say that we do have a return of investment for the communities of this county, and including Fort Scott. And so and at this time, I would take any questions, concerns, comments from the commission or Ms. Mayor. Crickets. I answered all your questions. Wow.
Well, Jackson pretty much answered them all.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We'll let him think that.
Yeah. No, thank you, Rob.
If you had to pick 2 items that were what you would consider the most beneficial contributions to the city from Ready, what would those 2 items be?
The city of Fort Scott?
Yes.
We haven't received it yet, but I would say probably one of the most beneficial across our hearts if we receive it was going to be the Memorial Hall grant. You have a treasure in that building. I've been privileged to, and I was going to talk about this anyway, so we might as well go right into it. I've been privileged enough to get some documents from Mr. Wells and the city staff here to be able to go through the history of that building. And to say I'm awe-inspired, it'd be an understatement. That building, you guys were jokingly talking about how long you've been talking about Memorial Hall. They started discussions on that building in 1884 and built it in 1924. So think about that. Some of the things you guys are working on have not taken that long. This was a concept started by people because they wanted to recognize men, at that time men, who protected them, in their words, from invasion during three of the most crucial periods in our country's history, in the Spanish-Mexican War, in the Civil War, and in the Transcontinental Railroad expansion. Fort Scott was key to all three things that truly make this country what it is today. One of Fort Scott's very own led the charge to take the capital in Mexico to end the Spanish-Mexican or the American-Mexican War. Fort Scott was the first fort and the first regiment to ever have an African American serve as a United States soldier and an a Native American regiment to serve for the United States Army. The first ever. If you think about this, a group that was casted out of their homes was turning in the Trail of Tears and stuff, turned around, came to Fort Scott and said, "We want to fight for the freedom of all." That happened here in this town, right down the street. And then obviously, the Kansas 7th, the first colored regiment, or the first African American group. I joke with Matthew, the movie Glory is a lie, it's fake news. We had the first African Americans ever to fight for their very own freedom right here in Fort Scott. And that's why Memorial Hall was designated. That was the original plan, was to recognize those individuals in their fight. So two individuals that nobody wanted to recognize at that time, Fort Scotians decided they wanted to in 1884. Now, we all know that in the early 1920s, World War I was over, and so this became a World War I memorial. But it is a war memorial. The building was built to recognize those men and women at that time who served and died for this country and specifically for this state, and who are buried right out here at the National Cemetery number 1. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but it's just, I read through this, and I'm a history junk. You can ask my family. I just see this, and I was just inspired that, you think of a time where neighbor fought neighbor, brother fought brother, even in this community. But everybody was able to come together and, in their words, work on the grandest project to ever be done in Fort Scott. $185,000 is what it cost to build that building. That's $3 million in today's money. They were able to raise $185,000 with a bond and then some local efforts from local community or local businessmen to build that building. And that's, at that time, that's a lot of money, folks. So that would be one. And then obviously access to healthcare, being able to work with the group that's bringing in a cardiologist, that's increasing our public school, our early childhood. That's an amazing feeling. We've all taken beatings over this project for the last almost 2 years, and I'm saying that we've made it to the end. We're actually seeing progress being made. They gave out over 100 hams the other day free to the community. They received some toys that went to a needy family here who literally can't afford Christmas for their children. So those kids are going to have a smile on their face because of the work this group and all of us did. And it's just, that's what we do this for. So those two things, I love doing everything we've done, but those two things stand out because it doesn't affect my organization, it affects real people in real life. And so that's, yeah. I don't ever do a short answer. Memorial Hall, here's the number you all been waiting for. After working on contingencies, cost, and everything, which, by the way, Jason, you're probably going to tell me that the steps cost more. They can't, because I've already submitted this grant. So you're just going to have to eat whatever it is over the amount I put in on this grant. But no, we submitted this grant. The total cost of the grant, not counting contingencies, because we don't know if we'll spend them or not. We put them in there for budgeting purposes, is $983,642. That does all the windows. That does all the tuck pointing brickwork on the exterior to stop the infiltration of water.
Say that number again.
$983,642. That's total, not counting contingencies. Okay? Take out the contingencies. There was a 10% contingency on there. That was for in case, we budgeted in case, the steps come in higher or the wood costs more, concrete goes up. We did that on budget. But right now, what we put in is total cost for the grant we submitted was $983,642. That's the basement, that's the mold remediation, that's lead paint, asbestos, brick, everything that we had to stop the infiltration of water, and the steps was included in that. Now, with that being said, it is a 50-50 match. Your total after splitting that in half would be $491,821. You budgeted $150,000 is what I was told today for the steps this year. So subtract the 150 of that. There is a 10% administrative cost that Ready included in that. And I'm going to say this for the citizens of Bourbon County. We are donating that back. We are not taking a dime from the city, which is $89,422 worth of services. If you think 10% is high, you get charged on other grants up to 25%. And I know this for a fact because I've seen them. So we charge 10%, and we're going to turn around and give that 10% back in-kind services in the amount of $89,422 that will go towards your match. Then we make a recommendation that if awarded this project, which we are optimistic, that the city take and use some in-kind labor for the steps, for the framing and the pouring of the concrete or whatever the steps, for the demolition in the basement, that can all go towards your in-kind. Now, the number is an estimate. We don't know until if we get awarded what that number is, but that could be anywhere from 42 to 42,000 to whatever. If we have to charge prevailing wage, that number is going to be obviously higher because that labor would be considered prevailing wage, and we get to match that prevailing wage because we're doing it instead of hiring a contractor $30 an hour or $40 an hour, whatever it is. So that would raise that number. Okay, and then if you take the 150 you already have, the 89 that we're donating, and the 42,000, 43,000 of in-kind labor, that leaves you with $209,000 and some change that you will have to come up with in the next 3 years. So if you were to split that in half and budget that for 2024 and 2025, you would need to budget about $104,000 every year to pay off that match. Now that does not include, as Mr. Van Hookey brought up, you could do a fundraiser next year after winning the award, and everybody could be excited about it. We could raise $100,000, and you could put that towards the match, and now you need $109,000 over the next 3 years. You see what I'm saying? But we put that in our budget as you would just budget it for the following 3 years at 209, just so there was a plan there. You do not have to go and do that plan verbatim. If somebody says, hey, I want to make a donation of $50,000 for the restoration of Memorial Hall, you take that $50,000, and then all we have to do is submit an invoice or submit a letter to the entity that shows you got a $50,000 donation to help with the payment towards Memorial Hall. So that's what we did. So after the 150, I'm going to go over this again because, I heard on Facebook it was, we were charging way too much, but it's $491,821. We are donating $89,422 of services to write and administer the grant after awarded. You have $150,000 budgeted, up to $42,000 to $45,000 in-kind labor from city workers to demo, do concrete work, whatever that is. Leaves you $209,600 and some dollars to come up with in 2023, 2024, 2025. We have a end date of this spring of 2025, and if we finish this, if we're awarded and finish this in November of 2025, we can have a re-grand opening because that building will be 100 years old in November of 2025, a century old. So, folks, this is an amazing opportunity. I'm hopeful that we get it. It took a lot of hard work. Matthew, thank you for getting me all that stuff for the historic background. I've just enjoyed reading it, let alone filling out the grant. Brad, you and your staff, Jason got me some items. I mean, this was a team effort. And if we win this, Brad and myself are going to go on a trip. No, just kidding. Just don't put that in there. Tammy, that's not a quote. Oh, she's gone. Okay, that's great. Anyway, thank you very much for your help, your support of Bourbon County Ready over the last year. We're looking forward to a lot of great opportunities and growth in the next year. And we just look forward to continuing this partnership for years to come. Any questions on anything, Grant, anything? Okay. Thank you very much.
Next is the public hearing for the 2022 budget amendments. Ben?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Herring.
Yes.
What we've got here is a budget amendment required by the state of Kansas.
Is this mic on?
Expenses that run over budget.
No, it's off.
Thank you. The state of Kansas requires budget amendments for any possible overages, over expenses over budget. Doesn't necessarily mean amendments are a negative thing. They can happen for anything from cash carry forward, unexpected cash carry forward because of the prior year's audit, to just environmental changes that, whether they're bids or other things that come up that need to be spent. Your budget is actually a living, breathing document, as you know. What this does is allow us to account for expenses that could potentially be over 4 of these budgets. They are the library, the equipment reserve fund, water utility, and the sewer utility. In the case of the library, the taxes are not going up. We are not changing any levies, no tax appropriation. That's already been done. What this is doing is allowing for the cash as of last year to be rolled over to this year and distributed to the library. That's all it is. So their appropriations will go up only to the amount of that cash that's remaining. And that's not an unusual amendment for that matter, especially in the state of Kansas. Equipment reserve is just an increase similar to the library. There's a budget authority needed to carry unbudgeted funds over into this year and have them be spent. The water utility increase is basically a number of different items that you see increasing on a regular basis, whether that's chemicals is typically chemicals and fuel is what we typically see increasing on a regular basis. Water utility would actually come in under that number, but we want to be careful.
to not be a budget violation. The sewer utility is similar to that, and we bumped up the appropriations there just because we felt like there's a possibility that that number could come in a little higher than what was budgeted. On the funding side, for water utility, revenues have increased. Sewer utility, we got the ADM charges that are coming in. That'll pay for well in excess of what's there for that budget amendment. And what this does is you've set a public hearing in the last meeting for today, just to have public comments that may be necessary or you want to hear. So that's my summary of what the budget amendments look like.
So we should entertain if there's any comments on
Yes, any public comments? Seeing that there is none.
Just for my reference, so it's impossible to predict the exact dollar amount on the budget.
Correct.
So if we're still off at the end of the year, we'll just do another budget amendment beginning or
Correct.
first quarter of
For in January.
Okay.
We'll do one in January if we are off that much.
Okay.
These are the ones we felt like were close enough that we're going to need it. But if something blows up in the next week, God help us.
So like for the library, money came in over cash carryover.
Right.
So the budget includes cash carryover in it, right?
Right.
So you could technically lower the cash carryover instead of raising the
budget. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. Cash carryover is not in the budget.
Not okay.
Right. But to your point, if the audit comes through and we see cash carryover in 22 for 23, we could pass a budget amendment and go ahead and pass that through. We don't have to wait till December to do that.
I'd move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, we would entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Well, we need to
close it
close the public hearing first, then we'll make a motion to approve
I'm
the
sorry, I
amendment.
thought we did. I'm
No.
daydreaming.
Now we have a motion and a second.
Sorry, I thought it was.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
I will motion that we pass the 2022 budget amendments.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Then I think Ben has some other comments about us in general financial.
Yeah, it related to the budget amendment. You've already passed it though. I've got at your desk our forecast for the end of the year, and that includes cash forecast. I'm not going to go through it in detail. The only thing I do want to point out, because when we started, I received a document that showed displayed a negative cash balance in the general fund, actually a deficit cash balance in the general fund. At this point, scrubbing the numbers with 3 different people, we're looking at a surplus of $81,000 at the end of 22 in the general fund. The cash currently, as far as the audit is concerned, at the end of last year, 12/31/21, was $1.5 million. You right now have $2.1 million in the bank. So what we're assuming is a lot of that budget is going to be spent. Now, I think that's a probably overly conservative assumption. The rest of the funds they're listed, and mine has chicken scratches, but it's this one right here. It's the one with the blue bar across the top of it. And it's I think there's 2 pages. Really, there's just 1 page of numbers. I'm not going to go through it in detail. You guys can take a look at it. I didn't see any issues at all with what you have as far as cash balances. They are grouped into what we call fund types, if you will. And you've got obviously a number of different funds. What I'd like to do is come back in January and potentially have you guys entertain a possibility of combining some of the funds, not reducing transparency at all, just combining them for accounting purposes, really. You'd still see them broken out kind of like this. But I'd like to show you what that might look like so you guys can say a yes or no. That would actually make, I know, Devin's job a little easier as well. And really, those are related to the capital funds. But we'll put a pen and paper and kind of show you what that might look like and bring it back to you the beginning of next year. On your DS as well as just the financial report, the only things I want to note is the overall sales tax still chugs along at 9% over last year. Overall citywide sales tax is 9% increase. Your highway tax is flat, if not just a little bit increased. Transit guest tax is going way up. So you're in a really good financial position when it comes to the general services for the city, and that's actually a really good thing. Taxes, if you remember, ad valorem taxes make up a quarter of the overall general fund. 48% is made up of sales and compensating use tax. So those are your two big providers. Also in that, you've got some narrative there. What I've done is starting to add bullets or discussion based on what we had talked about last month. Just some bullets that we thought would be important. Just to note, if nobody goes past that page, then you actually know what's going on. Some key, and we'll continue to add items like that. And Devin's been great about adding those things. The last thing I've got is a sheet that shows the calendars for the first quarter of next year. What we're proposing is to come back, and this includes the CIP discussion. So January 10th, I just mentioned coming back with a potential combining fund structure is what we call it, just what that might look like. Capital improvement plan, I know Brad's been working on with the departments to pull a lot of information together, and depending on how far we are or how close we are with that, we'll come back at a work session on January 10th to go through that. That'll include departmental priorities, show what those priorities are and what they look like so you guys can respond to them. If there's other things we need to be adding in there, the nice thing about doing it early in the year is we can actually consider those as part of the budget, and as cash is available, start them or continue them, whatever they might look like. And a lot of this is going to come from the departments. Well, most of it's going to come from the departments for their consideration. The January 10th, I'd also like to offer you guys some pre-audit estimates. We'll have November or December closed out by then, so you'll know what that looks like. Then auditors come in and change everything. But it shouldn't change that much. But it'll give you a good idea where we're going to end, especially general fund, water utility, sewer utility. The three big ones are the ones you're going to be specifically concerned about. Based on any kind of combining structure, if we end up doing that, we'd require another budget amendment just to combine them, just to modify your 23 budget that's already set. We'll push those together. But that's a discussion we can have based on our discussion on January 10th. Mayor, that's all I have for my discussion.
I just have a quick question. I know a few months ago, I know you weren't here, but it was presented to the commission that we had a $400,000 deficit in the general fund. Do you have any idea where that would have came from?
I think that was set back in August. It was set back in August. So expectations between August and December changed considerably.
I think it was reviewed in end of September is when it was presented to us.
Yeah. And I couldn't determine where those numbers were coming from.
$500,000 deficit to having a surplus is
right.
How would that be off that much?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I know it wasn't you. I know it was before you. I just didn't know if there was anything you saw that would have made someone think there was a $400,000 deficit or $500,000 deficit.
It's kind of hard to answer because I wasn't here back then, but from what we wanted to do is be careful with what we had. And when I talked to Susan before, she had been very open with what she had, and she says, it was a stab in the dark. If we do certain things, this is going to happen. If we do other things, this is going to happen. And I told her, I said, well, what I'm looking at is I'm not seeing that deficit. And she says that very well could be. It's all how you look at it. What we then did was be very careful moving forward. I didn't want to typically I'd bring this to you in September, just like she did. But in this case, I'm waiting until now because with the deficit, I want to make sure that's one going to happen or two not going to happen, and then let you know. I don't see how that's going to happen at all. If there's obvious changes that could take place, when we started the discussion between internal staff, we had around a $100,000 deficit, not cash balance deficit. It's just expenses over revenue. That kind of went away when we started really scrubbing down on expenses. Some of the transfers that are not going to take place that were budgeted make a big difference. We took a look at payroll and where those lined up. They lined up nicely into each one of those items. What we didn't look is any kind of allocation amongst funds or departments if you've got one person allocated several different ways. I know some of that we still need to unwind. But overall, I didn't see where we would get a deficit.
You didn't see any funds because of raises that were way off or anything. Raises didn't affect
they were pretty
anything.
consistent across the board, right?
And so, according to what you presented us, our cash carryover for the beginning of the year is going to put us in a much better position.
Oh yeah.
Than
Yes, definitely, especially in the general fund. That's one of the things I want to come back and take a look at. If we do the CIP, you could conceivably in January, February, be taking part of that general fund balance and allocating it toward projects. I mean, if you end up with $2 million, which is a third of your general fund, it's a great timing for that CIP discussion and then discussion on cash you have available to you. And that'll be a good conversation. And what I just heard is there's around 200,000 that could be matched immediately, just depending on how the strategy you want to move forward with it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then one of the things that I get excited about is that he's showing you where your cash is, and we got a lot of funds. And I think what you're proposing is to be more transparent.
Absolutely.
Because before everything was in the general fund and you couldn't find it very well. This puts it into categories, and that's what he wants to talk about. But the real exciting part is that you, as a policymaker, can then, that's the next step, do projections out and see where what your policy, if it's from a bond rating standpoint, if that's a third or whatever you decide on, and project that out 2 or 3 years, and then you can plug in those numbers and do your capital projects, and to me that's what the projections out for a year, and then when you get your reports, you'll be looking at, it'll be much easier to look at.
I'd also like to bring back during the workshop, I'd like to bring back one of the financial statements that's fairly easy to read. That's not 42 pages. It's only a handful of pages. And it kind of gives you an overall assessment where the funds are. The top three, again, general fund, water and sewer, and they're broken out by department. So you can see expenses by department rolled up as a department. Overall, the general fund, we've got 91% of the year ended as of November 30. You've got 28% of the budget left. So that's a pretty good conservative spending habit you've got. That's actually a really good process. Your revenues are over what you've budgeted. Those are good indications of financial management on your part.
We do have a lot of water meters that we're wanting to fix and stuff, so
it helps.
We can get that done.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Next item on the business is resolutions. We're going to have to go through each one of these. Justification for Cooper Street project.
Okay, I've got this one. Wanted to come back to you about Cooper Street project. Wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that. I did send it to you in my report this week. Just to justify us doing it in-house versus outsourcing it. The numbers that I gave you, I don't know, I'll read them off if you don't remember them. What we've spent so far in phase one, about $199,000. Estimated cost of materials and labor for phase two would be $270,000, but this price includes the purchase of a track loader. It's a bigger track loader that we currently have, which would make the work much more efficient, and also we could use it for other projects in the future. So total price of the project would be $469,096. That's with the track loader included. So drop down, the cheapest bid to do all of Cooper when we first started this about almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, was $776,000. If you would want to go back out to bid on only half, since fuel, concrete, and services are hired in August of 2021, I feel the price would be over $400,000 to do the second half if contracted. So with that, that's why I'm coming to you to justify doing it in-house with our current staff. One question that came up was length of time to complete. Of course, we've got to look at weather, but we feel with our current staff, with our current schedule, we can complete this prep work, tearing up the existing road and getting it laid back down in 2.5 months. And that's being somewhat conservative with that. One thing we did learn that we talked to Jason about, we can pour longer pours. So that's going to increase our pouring, which will also decrease the time that it'll take, which would have 9 pours at 115 cubic yards per pour, which is a total yardage of 1,019 cubic yards of concrete. If there's no additional questions, I would love to see you give us a motion to do this in-house, or at least just guide me to it.
When do you think work would start if we did it in-house?
Weather permitting, we once we get the piece of equipment, it's in Lee Summit, so as long as they've got it still, we could get it. The thing we'd want to watch is you could start tomorrow, but if it snows a foot, then you're stopping, then you get your road tore up. So once we start, we want to go. But we would start around February, March, so we could get going. We also have to look at, we've got 100 blocks of Cape Seal that we've got to prep for also. So we feel comfortable with it. And we can, with the road being wider, we can leave part of that road open for the residents that live there. They can go in and out.
So when did we get the $776,000? How long has it been since we went out to bid?
August 2021.
August 21.
Yes.
So not going to be much of a change if we did it again.
And has Ben, have you looked over any of this to make sure? So my big thing is for 2023 with the Cape Seal, Horton Street, and this, I just want to make sure how it looks fund-wise.
Yes.
Yeah. That's unaccounted for?
But I will say, if we outsource this, that may take some of that away to where you can't do some other project.
I mean, I do like the fact that, I mean, we're probably saving a few $100,000 as well as getting, buying a piece of machinery we probably needed.
So we're roughly saving $300,000 and being able to purchase a piece of equipment
to do future work.
Yeah.
I would just, if we did do it, and I felt like we had this talk last year, but I mean, this would be a first step. I mean, the crew really needs things. We can stay on that 2.5 month. I mean, if we did it, I'd like to see updates every meeting. We poured one pour this week or whatever it was.
Additionally, my concern would be what Josh has stated. we have a lot of work that we're planning on getting done. We have alley work, we have brick work, we have the prep for the Cape Seal.
Right.
If we decided to move forward with this project and the savings that we're going to see, could we use some monies? Apparently, we're looking well enough in our street fund to possibly hire a couple of additional individuals to help with the projects other than the pours, so that we can stay on top of the street repairs, the brick repairs. So maybe put together, I know we've talked about it before, getting a brick crew back, 3 guys whose job every day is to go out and fix potholes on the brick streets, start tearing up all the utility cuts that all the companies have destroyed our brick streets with, and just have 3 guys go out and that be their daily job. Because of the amount of money that we're saving and what I'm seeing in the budget, I think hiring 3 additional guys is extremely possible.
Well, as I said before, that's our goal.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it during budget time, but if Ben thinks we can manage it and you okay it, I mean, that's to be honest, that's the only way you are going to make a dent in the brick problem, is have somebody designated to do that every day. Doing it a week here, a week there, you're just not going to do it.
Yes,
I mean, there's just too much.
And I think Ben,
That's something you could easily have that conversation during the CIP discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Easily, because it's completely related to capital. So we'd be prepared to bring that back with Brad and show you
Okay.
what that would look like.
yeah, 'cause
Absolutely.
the only thing we got to
Excellent.
watch when you have reoccurring charges, of course, is allocated every year,
Sure.
not just. So I'm curious why we have that much money left in the street department. If we can kind of get, did we not do something? Did we not buy equipment?
I know
We
that.
just
Well,
maybe sales tax was up.
Well,
We have
without
a-
without him going through all of it, we didn't
didn't
do all
close
the
all the
streets we had
Right.
anticipated. We saved 400 and some thousand by not doing the original Wall Street project and instead going out for the Clip project that we're going to do
and
now.
you've got capital projects coming up here that's where we have that discussion.
Some of the match money for
and plug
Horton and some
plug
other
that
things.
in.
Yeah.
And we're planning on trying to do that January in
January
the month
10th.
of
Yep.
month of January. I mean, we may not have it complete, but you'll know where you're at.
Yes.
And my only comment, if you're looking at, people, there may be some ways to think out of the box on the people. The problem is once you have full-time people, it's an ongoing cost.
Right, and I understand that. I know that, and I think everyone would agree with me with the state of our streets right now. We don't. It's not that we don't need these additional individuals to help us repair our streets. It's that we did not think we had the money or the resources to do it. And now we're seeing savings. We're seeing additional money. So now seems like the time where we could move forward, being more aggressive on repairing things within our city.
And I'd like to make comment of something that I've noticed since I've been here. Under Brad's management, and our public works crew is light years what it was 2 years ago, and that was a direct policy decision from the council. Now, having said that, it's up to me to say too, we've sacrificed some resources, in the general fund as well, and so I that's my observation. I mean we're doing light years compared to what we were doing 2 years ago, and it could get better, and there's a need there. I'm not arguing that.
But I mean, I think we're going to discuss all this on January 10th. So,
Sure, you're right.
But Ben, you think the fund looks good enough to go ahead and do this? Yeah, and the crew. I mean, like you said, this is a real test for them. I mean, they can handle this in the Cape Seal.
No doubt.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to move the approval to move forward with the city crews finishing Cooper Street instead of bidding it out.
we want to put a dollar figure in there based on what he'd given us. In other words, the new track hauler and the.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, right. Well, and I think the track hauler needs to come back anyways for approval. The only other thing is, I don't know if we have to rebid out. I can't remember if the first concrete bid included all that, or if it was just the first. If we need to put it out for concrete bids.
It showed all, but I'll get with.
Well, if it
I'll
showed
get with
all,
some
I would
people.
just continue.
Well, I mean, he's got a total price of project estimate on here, $469,000, and for that kind of money, I would think if we're going to instruct him now to go forward with it, we should call out that number and have a motion and a vote.
Well, phase 2, 199,000 is already done. Just to let you know.
Okay.
Phase 2 would be 270, and if it changes drastically, I can let you know.
But I mean, 270 is still a chunk of change.
Oh, yes.
We're going to instruct him to move forward and purchase that track hauler. It needs to be put, I think, to a motion and a vote.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, do we need a motion? I mean, does my motion need to be to do it in-house? Does that even really need to be a motion? That can just be
No.
Direction.
No.
So the only motion that we really need to make is to go out for proposals or bids for the track loader.
I think you already got those.
I've
don't
got
you?
those. Yes, I've already got those.
Did we already go out for that, or did you just happen to get?
We just have the bids, and we can
I think
share
because of
that
our
next
purchasing
meeting.
policy, we probably better.
We can share
I
it
don't
next
know.
meeting.
Ben, what do you think? Do we need to?
Well, if you want to approve it at the next meeting at the same time, this equipment, you may lose your equipment.
Yeah, well, that would be my
That's the biggest
concern.
concern.
I just want to make
Will
sure
it still be
we're
available?
Because the way our bidding policy is, we have to go out for bid, or if it's a sole source item, then we don't. So I just want to make sure we're following our bidding process.
Yeah, it's actually, we've looked at 3 of the same machines from 3 different people, but so we've got the bids.
I just don't want no one coming back later and saying,
Right.
"Hey, you never put this out for bid. Why didn't I get a chance to bid?" it?"
Sure.
So I just
And
wanna make sure
it
we're
is a
covering-
used piece of equipment too. It's not new.
Okay, well then, yeah.
So that's my only concern is if we wait, then the piece of equipment may get sold, and we will lose our opportunity.
So you're just gonna bring that back next meeting? or
Yes,
you gonna-
I can.
Okay.
What,
could
as
we-
far as what?
Approval of the purchase of the track loader once the bids come in, or once we see the bids. I mean,
Could we? And I'm
Well, we
just-
could forward the bids to you to make sure.
Well, we would need to see the bids prior to voting.
Okay.
yeah. So if we need to have a special meeting just to vote on it, I think that would be if you need to get move forward with it.
December 24th at midnight.
Yeah.
It's my wife's birthday,
We'll be here.
so better to not.
You bring the eggnog.
Anyway.
Jason, we're going to need you here as well.
We probably can confirm that.
Yeah. Okay. But I do see Josh's point. I mean, we don't want somebody coming back saying, "Hey, I heard you guys bought a track hauler." And
But I guess since it is used, and we can use sole sources or single sources, yeah. And I don't know if we want to table to the end of the meeting, and if you can go get the bids, if that's enough time.
That would be my request. Yes.
I mean, and then we can see. So,
Lisa, strike that motions. We're not going to motion or anything.
sorry, withdraw my motion.
It's dropped.
We're just moving it.
Okay.
I think Jason's up now.
No, we have resolution.
Shower house, the RV.
Yes, it is Jason. Sorry.
Madam Mayor.
052-2022. They flip flop the numbers. It needs to be 0.
So Brad left, but so we talked about this last Thursday and kind of what the intent is. You know, part of the deal at Gun Park is the RV area. I think that's getting some work, and that's a revenue source, right? So I've looked at that current bathroom that's by the RV park, and so the options are we can go out for bid to repair what's there now, which is basically a bathroom. But the concern is if they try to rehab that, they've got to get in there and tear out that whole floor because it's heaved and cracked all over the place. So the cost to do that kind of work may be excessive compared to just starting over. And I think the key, I know that getting sewer service out there is a problem, so we'd still do the holding tanks and have to have that pumped out. But we really just need to, I guess, spec what we want, and if it's a shower house, so you have kind of an idea. They got a quote for a shower house at the lake of 113,000, so that's kind of where we're seeing that number, but I don't know how big that was, so we can kind of evaluate, what it is. Is there going to be just one bathroom with a shower or 2 bathroom stalls? It's got to be ADA compliant. All that stuff goes into play, but so it's kind of a fresh thing. I know we've talked about the bathrooms before, and I know Frank Halsey had done some late work trying to get some quotes on some prefab units, which again are expensive. However, your maintenance goes down, and it's just better. The bathrooms you currently have, they're wood frame and they're just in bad shape. But the bathrooms up by the RV park, that is a concrete structure, but it was built different than they build them now, so it just didn't do very well.
So I would say, from having looked at that structure, that it's not worth rehabbing, that we would need to look at an all-new structure with 2 different bathrooms, a male and a female, with the shower and ADA compliant.
Okay.
Were you going to say something, Jeff?
Well, I was going to say in Brad's report, here he comes.
So he might have got some quotes on some stuff.
We're talking about the bathroom, and Jason just shared the fact that is it worth it to try to rehab it? And you've got a meeting set, so I'll let you handle your thoughts on that. Here it is, right here.
Oh, and the bathrooms? Or the
Yeah.
RVs?
Did you ever get a quote back from that
Yes,
company?
it was over $100,000.
Okay, and that's kind of what I.
So I don't know if we really want to go that route. We need to. I have a meeting next week with a couple of people to go down and look at the RV park. I would say once we're down there, we need to look at this bathroom to see. The flooring's going to have to be redone, the one that's down by the RV park. So the flooring's going to have to be redone. So to do that, you have to jackhammer it out because it is concrete. Once we do that, once we rip off the sides, is it worth keeping? Is it worth just rebuilding? A cinder block restroom might be a cheaper way to go. I did reach out to a company on a prefab one. It was, like I said, over $100,000. So there's options there. I think right now with Jason's help, just to look to see which way we want to go.
What's wrong with that bathroom besides the floor? I went down there just for a second, but it is cinder block, right?
It is not.
No,
it's actually poured walls.
Yeah.
With the wood that was probably later added, it matches some of that.
Okay, so
I guess you call it siding.
But that's that match, yeah.
Yeah, but it's been
That stuff's-
termite infested at some point.
But the walls inside are.
The walls are probably. I didn't look close enough at the walls, but those cracks probably have propagated.
Yeah, the issue
up
that
the
I
corner,
see
but-
is that the floor has to be demoed.
Yeah.
And when you demo that floor, it's going to destroy the structural integrity of those walls because they already have a bunch of cracks in them as they are. And then you go and start jackhammering out the concrete base that they're setting on. They're not going to be. I don't see a way to salvage them.
Do you haven't done an estimate for a new structure?
No, we went down the road of what's a prefab type of unit cost, and I think I've sent before the CMU block structures. Those could be a little more cost effective, but you still got to, it's a do over. You got to demo what's there and
Why
pour
don't
the
we
floor.
do this? Why don't you have your meeting and Jason, maybe you could explore that, and then we'll bring that back to the CIP and see if we can plug it into the system. Yeah, for this year. And maybe we can't, but we can plug it in. Does that make sense?
I'm good with it.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Next is approval of the 2023.
You mind if we go back that one for the?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Here's two
Love bids.
bids. I will tell you the other bid is, was well over $100,000, and they're pretty much the same equipment, same years, same mileage, same hours, go by hours on these. But the top one is the one that we're looking to purchase.
What is the difference, Brad? What's
She needs to know.
It's
A, B, C, not just pass a piece of paper.
So
Here, I'll read them
say
back.
it out loud so she can have the two in the
Top
record.
one is A. We'll just go ahead and
Yes,
do A.
A's the top one. That's the one we're looking at purchasing. That's the one. It's a 2000.
2005 Caterpillar
Mhm.
963C as in Charles. This is B. Price of $94,000.
Versus 96.
B as in boy is 2003 Caterpillar. It is a 963C as in Charles also. And it is $96,000.
Have we actually gone up and in person and looked at these yet, or?
We have not looked at that one in at Lee Summit now. So before we purchase it, we'd take it out for a test drive, and we'd have to go get it. So we'd make sure we run it through the course. We'd take our own mechanic up there and operator.
So the number B item here is about 4,000 hours less and in much better shape, even though it is 2 years older.
Mhm.
It is the machine that has a lot less work and wear and tear on it.
Yeah, it's only
And only-
$2,000 more.
Yes.
But it's got barely over half the hours of what item A does.
I'm going by what Jerry Morgan, our street supervisor, he has talked to the people that own these.
Yeah, I'm just saying
And
because
so, and I understand.
65.
So going by what he
178
says.
hours versus 10,000 hours.
Mhm.
Do we have a list of mechanical issues on these?
No, not
Are
what
there-
they've.
Are there differences in bells and whistles that come on them, or?
These are pretty much the same since they are the same type.
I don't know if like a vehicle, they could be the same type,
Sure.
like it's a Suburban, but it's a Suburban LTZ or an LT.
Yeah, these are pretty much identical. And before purchasing, we would definitely go up and test it and make sure everything's working and do a checklist on it to make sure.
Just saying for that type of equipment, 3,000 hours is a pretty significant difference for just $2,000.
Where's the other one located at? I didn't.
Looked like one was located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Do you believe that's the one that's
One's
the
in Kansas
chief?
City, one's in
And we can go get the one in Lee Summit.
That's quite a haul. Georgia.
Well, I know, but I mean, is there anywhere else we could look? Or are these the only two places that we've?
He got one more that was over $100,000 for the
Which
same thing.
which one is the one in Lee Summit? A or B?
A.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to
Do a special.
backpedal and bring something back to you on January the 10th.
Well, unless you get something sooner, I mean, I don't have a problem with getting together quickly to approve something, but if need be.
What do you want to do, Brad?
No, that's fine. I will,
If you get something quick.
as long as you've guided us to go ahead with Cooper, we will take care of this part also and get
I would just
a
get it right
special
up from
meeting.
Jerry and just say, why do you prefer this one?
Yeah.
Better yet, I'll have him come to the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. And if you need it done before, like because being used, there's a good chance they will sell before.
Well, this has been on the market for a little while, so it's winter time. They're not a big rush, and I mean, they're not going to.
Can we lowball them and ask?
Well, we definitely will do that. I mean, we will definitely go in a little bit lower.
I know when a car's been sitting on a lot for a while, you can usually talk them down.
Yeah, there might be a Missouri. You're right. There actually might be a Missouri.
Well, you know, so you want to get rid
some,
of them.
some dealers in
before-
Missouri has an inventory, and car dealers inventory at the end of the year they have to pay personal property tax on, so they try to get rid of them before the end of the year. So they don't pay personal property tax on. So there is an incentive, maybe
yes,
if it's
there
in
is.
Missouri, to possibly get done. So, I mean, I would suggest Brad have Jerry reach out to that person, and then if there is some type of incentive before the end of the year, then have a special meeting before then.
Yeah.
So.
But you got the general direction. We're moving ahead.
Rock on.
So, next is approval of the 2023 liquor license. This is resolution 054-2022.
Now, these are just for retail on here, and wouldn't they all be in here? Yeah, cereal malt.
Cereal malt.
Yeah,
I
but
was
they're,
looking-
they're every 2 years, so some are on a different year.
Some are on a different. I say I know that, like for instance, Five Corners. I know.
Yeah, because
there,
at first
but they're not on here.
I seen someone talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
The number 8 Woodland Hills is on the premises. The rest are retail.
Okay. I would move to approve resolution 2022-054 approval of 2023 Cereal Mart liquor licenses.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Josh.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes. Next resolution is the award of demolition bids, lowest bid listed below.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I think I talked to you before the meeting, before we make these approvals. We had been told that potentially someone was coming in regarding 102 South Horton for public speaking. You're here?
She just walked in.
Okay. But I mean, we had public speaking earlier, so it's your call what you want to do.
Do I please talk to the mic for us if you don't mind?
I don't mind.
Okay. If you state your
earlier.
state your name
Donna Wilson.
into the mic for us.
It's Donna Wilson.
Thank you.
Is that mic on?
I did not realize that this had gone so far. When Thomas put the notice on the house, I had been tearing down just little bits of the house as I got money to do so. And so I've been told it was in the paper, which I don't get the paper. I've been told it's on the radio, and I found out about it because my mom actually heard it on the radio. So I didn't know anything about this until earlier in the week, actually. Well, and I had tried calling Norm a couple times after Thomas had put the notice on the house. So I know it needs to come down, but I did get a bid from Sakers to do that. And I had told Thomas I wasn't going to have the money until November, which now I have. But I hadn't gone back to Sakers to find out when they could put the roll off there to do that. So I understand that I think Sakers is the one that actually does that for the city, and I don't have a problem with that unless it's going to actually cost me more money. So if I could have them do it myself and it be cheaper, then I would like to do it that way. There's just a few things inside the house still, in the rooms that aren't as bad as the rest of the house. That, I mean, right now there's just 4 rooms because I've taken down 3 rooms already myself. So I just would like some additional time. I was supposed to have knee replacement surgery the 1st of December and ended up with COVID. And so then I had to be postponed. Now I have bronchitis and I'm trying to get over that so I can have surgery after Christmas. So, it's just one thing after the other. But if I could get something lined up myself, I would appreciate that instead of the city having to do it.
Yeah, you had said you didn't get it. You didn't see it in the paper or anything. You didn't get a letter.
I
in the
got a
mail?
letter at the very beginning when Thomas put the notice on the house.
And it provided
And
a
that's
date.
all.
It didn't provide a date of when.
I did not see a date in there. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I just knew that what the letter was about, and that's as far as I went. So, because Thomas met me at the house that day, and I talked with him about it, and he said, "Well, you'll be getting a letter in the mail." And I think it was like the very next week that I got the letter, and so I knew what it was about. So I didn't really read it, I guess.
Yeah.
So
How long has the house been red tagged for?
I'm not real sure when he did that.
I mean, how long ago was the fire that took place?
There was no
There
fire.
was a different
one.
No.
That's a different one.
There was no fire. It's
Okay.
just when my husband passed away, I moved out of that house into a different house, and the roof got bad and it started leaking. And so now 2 of the rooms the roof has actually collapsed on, and they're the ones that I was going to take down next. But I will take down all 4 of them if I have to right now. But I do have some stuff in 2 rooms that I would like to get out.
What would be your time frame on completing the project? Do you
Well,
think?
if I can get Sakers over there to do something, I'm saying into February at the max.
Okay.
That everything would be cleaned up and done.
So if we gave you 60 days, which would be
Isn't Dave's demolition Sakers?
yes, it's the same exact one.
That's who.
Right.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it's going to cost more with the city having to do that and like
Well,
that
I
kind
mean,
of thing.
in my
But
opinion, it's easier process if the citizens does it and don't have to go through everything and
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'd much rather do it myself and not have to involve
That
the
amount
city
on
if
your
I can
agenda
do
is
that.
incorrect. The amount on the agenda is incorrect from the amount that bid process.
Okay.
It says 2,500. It's not correct. The lowest bid on that
Yeah.
was $1,000.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah. I would, so I have 2 things. First of all, we usually bid on these, I think they're all, aren't they usually resolutions separate, or is it always all in one resolution?
They're separate, but
Different bid numbers in a resolution?
What I would like to pass on though is if the bid comes through the city, through us, then what we manage with the landfill as far as disposal of it would more than likely be more economical than if Mr. Saker did it on his own and is going to have to be charged.
Well, it will cost the city more money, and I'm saying if a taxpayer is going to take that burden off the city, I think we ought to allow her to do it because.
Okay.
Because it is my responsibility, and I take
Well, I
I take
understand
full
that, but
responsibility for that.
my concern, of course, is that and I'm not saying this is you, but I mean we have had we go through this drill a lot. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and then they're back in there again. And I could show you
Sure.
building permits on houses that they've come into the city commission that go back to 2012 on some houses that nothing's been done with. I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying we have to consider.
True.
That
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
true.
So
We do, and I will say, and I don't know Donna that well, but I know her, and I say their family's been a big part of Fort Scott for a long time. So I will say that I have no doubt that it would be followed through with. So.
I have a question. Was the process before that it's been condemned? Miss,
Yeah, it had to be condemned for us to.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it,
All we're doing is not giving it to the bidder.
Right. Yeah. Or I would make a motion that we give the citizens 60 days to complete the project, and if not, then we would accept the bid and still have the structure torn down.
if the bid's good.
Yeah, the bid's only good for.
I think it's only 30 days.
it is.
30 days.
That's 30 days.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, I would make the motion to pull bid number 45 out and give 30 days to start. Actually, probably 15 days is enough to start demolition, right?
To start.
To start.
Yes. Yeah, to start, definitely.
Yeah, so
But if
15
I could
days
have,
to start demolition with final completion in 60 days.
yes. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
So, did you get that, Lisa? Sorry. All right.
Repeat that again, Josh.
So, a motion is to pull out
Bid number 4.
bid number, bid 45
dash.
2022, and give the owner 15 days to start the demolition process and 60 days to finish it.
And I would second that.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookie,
No.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, Donna, real quick, I do appreciate you coming in because a lot of people would just allow it go through the process
Well,
and
and I would have been here a lot sooner
Yeah.
if I had known about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry I don't get the paper and I don't listen to the radio. I have Alexa, so.
thank you.
Donna, read those letters because it might be something
Yeah.
important.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You did get a letter.
Might have
So-
missed out on Publishers Clearinghouse.
Hey, take it
Yeah.
easy on her, Tim.
So
Just
The-
sometimes things happen. You just give people a second
More
chance.
often than not.
we're going to go
Sometimes
back
you have
into
faith in people.
consideration the award of demolition bids to the lowest bid. I'm going to have to go through and name all the bids. Bid number 42-2022, bid number 43-2022, bid number 442022, bid number 462022, and then bid number 47-2022.
I would motion that we move forward and accept the bids except for bid number 45-2022 in toto, awarding each to the lowest bidder.
Second.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes. Norman, would we be able to get an update on that house? January meeting? That gives her plenty of, she starts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there's a 15-day start today.
Yeah.
15 days start today and then 60 days after that.
Yeah.
When do we want the update then?
I'd say the next meeting.
Yeah,
January
January.
10th meeting.
Just to make sure that it's going, that gives her plenty of time. Nothing else. So, reports, director's reports. Commissioners' reports.
Would that be, and so the agenda's a little bit different this time.
Yeah.
So is
Commissioners?
director report, I'm assuming would be the engineer as well?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you have any?
Any
Yes.
extra, Jason?
No, I guess just follow up on my report that was provided. If there's any questions from you, otherwise, I think the only update, I think I talked a little bit about the aeration and the curtain wall at the lagoons. So I confirmed some of that stuff. So the curtain wall is actually installed now. The comment that I would have with the aerators, the sludge removal process, they're about halfway, I think, or probably just over half. But there's still a lot of sludge they're concerned about setting those aerators. So we're going to kind of watch that a little closer and make sure that doesn't cause issues. Because if the sludge is too built up still in certain areas, they'll try to get those aerators in there, but it could break some of the fittings, so they'd have to replace them. So there'll be some overrun on cost if that happens. So we're going to try to make sure that we can avoid that. But I'll probably just have to contact AMS and verify their schedule.
As far as that sludge removal, what are we using as verification for the amount of sludge that has been removed?
So the key that we kind of talked through, and now with Alec and Scott Plater, we said you need a third party to come and measure that when they say they're done, which I need to get that date. KWRA will come out at no cost and measure the sludge.
Okay.
So
what kind of metrics are they providing right now showing?
I don't think they are.
Okay.
I'll follow up with Alex.
Oxygen level.
Yeah, so the
Is that
DO
for the
should be going
measurement?
up.
Yeah. Is that one thing to measure in that?
It is. They normally measure that.
The oxygen level has risen, so
Right.
that's a good thing. That
Yes, sir.
means it's working.
Yeah. I'm just more concerned with, I know at spots we had over 10 foot of sludge.
Yes.
So I'm just looking for a metric that, like, we've gone to 8 foot, we've gone to 6 foot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where are we in the amount of
Yeah, so the
actual
key,
sludge
you know, based on their contract, they said they would get it down to 6 inches or less.
Is it true they sent a diver in there?
Yes,
Yes.
2 of them.
They did.
Yes, they did. I met them.
Yeah.
And that was the curtain
I
wall
met 'em.
installers.
You think your job's tough? Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
Did you bring Mike Rowe down to film that?
I missed out on it.
So yeah, as far as metrics, you know, specifically, no.
Okay.
I mean, they said in whatever, I think 90 days was their time frame. So once we hit day 90, they should pull out and we should mobilize to get that measured. And they can measure it themselves if they want, but it doesn't matter.
I just didn't know if we wanted them to verify that.
We can ask. I can ask
measurement
him.
before they pull out, so that
Yeah.
if it's not down to the 6 inches, they have the opportunity to continue to work, as opposed to.
You better read the agreement.
I think their agreement was based off. It was a percentage based off a certain level, 50%.
Yes, that's true. So if they don't get down to 6, then
It was a
whatever
stage
their
level.
prorated amount, but
Right. Okay.
and that would probably be based on the average. So just a concern moving forward with the aeration, if that's not in those especially the south end of that first cell still has a pretty decent amount. So putting those aerators in, that is going to be a problem. So timing wise, I think the sludge removal process will reach its end before they're ready to turn on the aerators and have them the test run. So I'll keep track of that and keep you updated. But nothing else new, I don't think.
On the Horton Street, have we verified? I mean, do we have to move any water lines or sewer lines?
Yes, so the original, I guess, plan, there's some sewer and some water that's part of that project, and it'll be in the bid. So there's a 50-foot piece. I'm trying to think of where it is, north of Lakin, of sewer, and then along for a number of feet, there's actually from 18th Street north all the way past Lakin, you have a double water line. There's this old 6-inch and a newer 12-inch.
So I was told at one time one of those were they.
So we're going to
they broke the
abandon.
loop
Yeah.
over on 10th Street. Do you know if that's true?
Probably is.
I just wanna
Our
make
scope.
sure.
So yeah, basically at Lakin Street there's a valve which is for the 6-inch line. So we're gonna. The easy way would be to shut that valve off and abandon the main. We're gonna have to dig it up and cap it, pull the valve, because I don't want it leaking later, even if we abandon it. So it needs to be cut and capped. And then north all the way to where we've got to move a fire hydrant from the 6-inch to the 12-inch. So that'll all, the 6-inch all gets abandoned through there. So it's just work, you know, reconnecting a hydrant. There's a couple service lines that'll probably get reconnected. And then we'll make sure we remove the valve. There's a valve at the north end of the 6-inch that we'll dig up and and plug that. So from, I can't remember the length, but so that'll be abandoned. There's so technically not any new water mains, just some hydrant stuff and service connections. And then the sewer, like I said, there's a piece that's getting replaced in Horton. And then the two houses on Lakin on the south side, there's a sewer line behind them that's getting replaced.
Now, is that turnkey or is that on us too?
That's in the project.
Okay.
So city crews really want to be doing.
No. And we'll try to, anything in the road, we'll have them backfill temporary gravel for when the road crew comes in and does their work. So we're not going to pave it twice. Whenever we patch it, it'll be a temporary patch. So we'll just make sure they keep an eye on it, because, you know, as you all know, you fill in the hole and after a week it's a bump. So you just we'll keep it maintained by the contractor. Any other questions?
On the pavilion, do we have to wait till the 24th before that can be sent out?
No, so if you want that on the same schedule to open bids, my recommendation, because of what it is, and I know there's different ideas about the foundation and all that stuff, I guess I'd like to propose that you do that as a design build. So you're going to get a contractor to bid, and I think it's the greatest maximum cost. And then as that's going to make it faster, I think. And then if they'll be the contractor will be responsible for the whole thing. So if they want to hire us to do the foundation, that's fine. But I think I would propose that we do a design build for that instead of a design bid build. That way, because we're not trying to put together plans. You know, we spec how big it is, the opening size, and it sounds like we don't want any center supports for various reasons, and that's fine. Because when we met out there, that one of the contractors said that 70 foot was no problem, so that's fine. But I'll put together quickly, probably by the end of the week, I'll need to get something together so that we can get it advertised. Okay. And they'll still have time to submit their bid on the 24th of January. Because I don't think I need any more feedback. If nothing else, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners report. Edwin?
I don't have anything to report. I'd just like to say thank you to our first responders and those people that we honored. I know they're not here now still, but to all the public servants of our city, thank you.
Josh?
Yep, just echo what Edwin said about that. Where I mean, a lot of times thankless job until something does happen. So thank you again. A couple quick things. The energy audit. I know we've asked for that a few times. If we can get something on that.
What? I'm sorry.
We had it. In 2020 they did an energy bond and it went out, and so they're supposed to do an audit. They were supposed to set it lower this by this or whatever. Right. So
You want a report on
they're supposed to present us with reports, an audit report every so often, and we haven't gotten one.
I built a pretty good relationship with the Snyder technician, so I'll get with him tomorrow and see what he can come up with.
Also, cut permits on contractors. I know we've talked about one contract a lot. Have they gotten any cut permits since the last meeting?
We are meeting with them on Tuesday. Supposedly there was a overall permit granted when they first came into town, and we have not been able to locate that. So we want to talk to them personally.
Okay. Like one permit.
I think what happened is they put they put a map out.
Yes,
Circle
they gave
Fort
us a
Scott.
map.
Yeah, there.
for the same price. One price.
And I know Travis a couple of meetings ago asked about the National Street a school sign. I don't know if you had a chance to check into that. So if not, that's
Still on it, but yeah, I haven't got any more further with that.
okay. Will you just put that next time, Lisa, on the agenda under my comments, just to remind me? Is that good? And I know we've talked about this for a while. A new mic system. We've talked about that for 2 years. I don't know if we can figure out some way of getting.
I met a gentleman at the League of Municipality convention. He came in and gave us a quote of $7,000. I would like to go back and talk to him and maybe have him come to a meeting in January and explain what that all entails. Because I'm sure he would explain it a lot better than I would. But we do have a gentleman that has done Gerard has done Pittsburgh's, and I think he's done Nevada's. So.
And then one other thing, I know, reach out to Jeff about the bidding out the banks and whatever.
Yes.
I know Jeff's going to talk about it. My suggestion is I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. The county just did this, so these banks are kind of familiar with a certain bid sheet, or it wasn't very much, and so
You didn't like my bid sheet?
I liked it. It's just sometimes 13 pages things get lost.
Well,
and so I didn't mind it. I thought there were some good things from it.
There's some things, and I've talked to Ben a little bit about that, and we need to bid out our bank bids.
Yeah.
That's our interest rate,
I
and
think
and
it's
as you know, and what I've found out over years is it's not only the interest rate. It's more than the interest rate. It's
Right.
a service that you get for a municipality. And so,
And we need to make sure going forward, whatever the bid is, usually it's a rolling rate of Fed or whatever. So we need to make sure that we're keeping them in line with the contract.
yes,
And it changes each month. And so,
Well,
because I think we could have, I think there's probably a $20,000 savings there at least.
yeah,
A year. And so I just.
that's a good idea, and it needs to be done because it hasn't been done in a long time. And usually, what you do is you send those out every 3 years, and then one of the things, if we know what our reserves are, we can post those out. The other thing is securities. You have to have them banked.
Yeah, you have to have them backed by security. Yeah, the banks need to know.
I'm not gonna.
Cash balances.
I just grabbed one because I knew we'd done it before.
No, there were some good things in there. I liked it. And then the last thing is, it's been like 2 months on your contract.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know Baker Tilly's a big company, but I would think that that's something that probably could have been done by now.
I apologize for.
Can we talk about contracts in open?
Yeah, because it's a company. It's not non-elected personnel. Is that correct?
I'm going to, by the way, I was going to give you bad time, whoever put this agenda together. I noticed that I missed one lousy meeting.
And you're off the list.
Oh, you're
And I'm not on the list.
Okay. Well, it
You know,
wasn't
so
in the
I don't know
format.
why I've been sitting here, but no, I'm just.
Hold on.
No, I was going to ask when my time came for a 20-minute executive session to discuss non-elected personnel, and one of you will have to make it, and because I've got written information that I can't really give to you in a public session, but I think we'll answer your questions, and if you want to have the city manager in the meeting, that's up to you too. I mean, that's not a problem.
Yeah. No, that's good. I didn't know it wasn't on the agenda.
Well,
yeah, but you weren't on the agenda, so
I wasn't on the agenda, and I didn't get any information until yesterday.
Yeah.
Jeff and I have been talking, and I thought, well, how do I get? I thought I can't just give this out.
Well, I know when we talked about this before.
This is confidential at this point.
Yeah, we kind of talked about hopefully this didn't take a few months, and now we're at a few months, and and I just want to say that I personally think starting in January, Jeff, that I personally think that the contract needs to be with you as a liaison, and I personally think that Brad needs to move up to city manager, and you need to be as an advisor for a few months until Brad can find his Brad.
My company has addressed that issue in the proposal.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
Yeah, I agree, but I haven't seen the proposal, but I guess here's what big companies do. Let's evaluate it in 3 months. Let's evaluate it in 6 months. And so I haven't seen a proposal. So if it says, hey, 30 days, we're good.
Maybe we should see the proposal.
Yeah.
Josh.
But
Let's
I'd like
wait
to-
and
I would
discuss more with.
Yeah, we can, but like I said, I didn't know the proposal was on there when I had this. So if we want to take an executive session, then come back to my time, we can do that. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm not suggesting anything.
No, I was talking to Tim because he said let's listen to the proposal. So is that what you want?
No, I would think we could do an executive session at the end of it and then go through it and let the other commissioners finish their comments if we wanted.
So you want me to finish now, or you want me to wait till I hear the proposal?
Well, however you'd like to do it, Josh.
You said something.
What
so
do
I
you
just wanna make
prefer,
sure.
sir? Do you want to finish?
No, I want to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the proposal is, but I think that Brad needs to move on up. I think right now paying $10,000 a month. Jeff, you do a good job.
It's not 10.
Your contract's for 8,000 plus
No, it's 7 plus expense.
plus expenses, and
And
we
as-
haven't even got an expense yet, and so we don't know what expenses are. So let's say it's $8,000 to $9,000 a
And
month.
it's addressed in the proposal.
Yeah, I
What
know,
you're
but
talking about.
yeah, but I'm saying is you've been here 3 to 4 months and we haven't gotten a bill yet.
Yes, you have, Britt. There's been one bill.
Okay, I know last time I talked to you, we haven't gotten one yet.
There's been, and you know, the big business world, I've never worked for business, big business, but we were a company named Management Partners, and that was bought out October 1. There's been one bill sent in on an invoice for the flat amount. The expenses part has not come, and that's coming plus another bill. And
That's what I'm saying. You've been here how long now?
Well, I came in the end of September, and I noticed that the company did not bill through the transition, did not bill the city for that amount. So
In that case, big business works in our favor.
yeah, well, it was
Until we get a bill that's
Be quiet, Josh.
Until it's
in the transition. So there's been November and December, and so that's two months.
Yeah, and Jeff, I
I
worked
know.
with you 2 years ago or whatever. I like you, and like I said, but
Well,
there's some. I think to me, you do a lot of work from home, but being here one day a week, there's a lot of confusion on who's in charge. Not when who's in charge, but now when you're back, and so it's just it makes it awkward for some staff that's
And
reached out to me and said, "Hey, it's kind of awkward on how
And you
this is
remember,
working."
if you remember, for 2 months, I said, "Where are we going with this?" And then I kind of got a direction that I understand where we're going. Therefore, I got a proposal. But unfortunately, because I worked in Baker Tilly, I got what I was trying, Sunday night.
Right.
And it's not the contract, but it is the proposal, and that's what we're ready to present.
Well, and you've made a good point about not sneaking up. So I say this because I don't want nothing sneaking up on the commission. By next meeting, I'm going to ask for probably your 15 days
That's
and to move
fine.
over to advisor role. That's, and me and you've talked about
Yeah,
this.
that's
And
fine.
so I just want to give a heads up. Next meeting, I would like it on agenda about the city manager. Talk if that's okay. I mean, either way.
Yep.
All right, and that's all I got.
You don't want to go into executive session now for what Bob has? Or
It's up to you
move
guys.
in?
I've said all, so it's up to you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. All I've really got is, if you've seen the weather report coming up this week, it's going to be -5, 40-mile-an-hour winds, -35. Whether it's a Christmas time and Christmas spirit or not, look out for your neighbors and your friends. When we first moved down here, we got a police scanner and a fire channel, and what really touched our hearts was the number of neighbors that would contact the police and the county sheriff and all for welfare checks for their neighbors. We do have a significant, very valued, treasured, older group of folks in our town here. And if that's next door to you or behind you or whatever, take the extra time, especially in a situation like this week, and look out for them. Also, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm sure everybody else in here too, they're talking 35 degrees below zero in high winds. Folks, if you got pets, please put them inside. And if you don't want to put them inside, go out in the yard and sit next to them for about 15 minutes, see how much you like it. So by all means, do that. Another wish I have for the town is, so much stuff to get involved in. I look around the table, the commission, some of the people in the audience. Make a resolution for 2023. Pick one or two of the great volunteer organizations that we have in town, and get together with your significant other or your kids or whatever, and get involved. Because the more people that are involved, the better things are going. There's some great things going on in town right now. Brad is doing a great job. His upgrades are great. I'm saying a lot of prayers that we don't have a ton of water main breaks or anything these next couple of days, where we've got guys out trying to get water back to folks in this weather, or that Travis's folks or Chief Bruner's folks, aren't put in harm's way from that. So other than that, that is all I've really got. And I wanted to just wish everyone, as I'm sure we all do, a very Merry Christmas.
Mr. Wells?
I believe we are all extremely blessed with the quality of services that are provided by the EMS, by the fire, by the police in this town. It is a rarity that you see individuals who are concerned with the community as a whole, not just with their jobs. And with a lot of these individuals who I've had the blessing to be able to talk to and to speak with, I see in their hearts a desire to continue to better our community, not just because it's a job, but because they love the area that they live in. So I echo what Edwin and what Josh and what everybody else has been saying about just how blessed we are with all of these individuals. And I just ask that a special blessing be upon them in the coming days as they deal with the weather, as they deal with the holidays, and the time that some of them will be spending away from their families, that they just know how much we appreciate them. We appreciate what they do. And I just ask the Lord to bless each one of them a little bit extra during this time of year. I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody, to ask God's blessing upon all of us throughout the rest of this year as we move into this new year, to allow us to continue to focus on so many of the good things around us that represent what this community of Fort Scott is and how much we all care for one another. And I'm just so thankful, especially during this time of year, to be a part of this community, to have been blessed with the opportunity to work with a really good group of ladies and gentlemen who seem to care about this community as much as I do. So thank you to each and every one of you. Bless you for your time. Bless you for your hearts and your desire to come here and to serve every week, because I see a lot of you here every week and every day working hard for this community, and that's a testament to who each and every one of you are. So I will end with the words of Tiny Tim from Charles Dickens and say, God bless us, everyone.
I just want to thank public safety officers. There's things every day that come up. It's thankful for them for every call that they go out for. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I also want to thank all the commissioners for allowing me to serve and serving as mayor. It's been pretty great. Other than that, we can move to executive session.
You had 2 more reports from us, if you wanted to take care of that now, or you can go into executive session.
Can we go into executive session and then
That'd be fine.
finish, please?
I don't have much.
And then we'll get yours too, Bob. I don't have my paper.
Move the city commission recess into executive session for the purpose of discussion of personnel matters of non-elected personnel, exception in KSA 754319B1. In the executive session would be the 5 commissioners and the city attorney. Josh, correct? We don't know Brad and no Jeff in it.
It's you guys. It's up
Just
to
us
you.
and the attorney.
Yeah, I'd say until we see the proposal, probably.
Yeah, just us and the attorney. 5 commissioners in the city of attorney. How much time do you think? 20 minutes?
I suggested 20.
Okay. For 20 minutes, we will stay in this room and reconvene back in this room at 8:57.
Second.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookie,
Yes.
Un momento, por favor, el señor.
Make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones, Tim Van Hooky,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff, Katie Harrington.
I make a motion to city commission recess to executive session for purpose of non-elected personnel matters of non-elected personnel, KSA 754219 In that meeting, the 5 commissioners and the sitting attorney, the meeting will last 10 minutes. Will resume at 9:08 in the city commission.
Second.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Matthew Wells. Katie
Yes.
Harrington.
Move to come out of executive session.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff, Katie Harrington.
Yes. Next,
We want to
Josh.
handle this piece of it now.
Yeah. You wanna do it?
Sure. Madam Mayor, would like to move that in light of Mr. Farmer, the city attorney's recent negotiation and proposal from Baker Tilly, that we accept the proposal to maintain Jeff Hancock as an advisor and consultant for the city of Fort Scott for anywhere up to 6 months at the negotiated rate that he has in here. And in doing that, that Brad Matkin be moved from assistant city manager to the official interim city manager for the city of Fort Scott for an amount of time to be evaluated to potentially move into a full-time city manager position.
Second.
Yeah, and I will say, this saves the taxpayers money. It drops it down.
Yep.
$2,500 a month, and we retain Jeff's knowledge and expertise.
And it also, gives clarity to the city employees, that Brad is not the assistant city manager, would not be the assistant city manager, but as the interim city manager, he would be the guy with Jeff's fallback and support.
Brad, you okay with that? Yes. Okay. I wanted clarification that you're okay with the decision. We got a second?
Yeah.
Matthew,
Okay.
second. Josh Jones?
Yes.
Tim Van Hooky?
Yes.
Matthew Wells?
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff?
Yes.
Katie Harrington?
Yes.
Congratulations, Brad. Thank you, Jeff. We like you a lot, but we hope we don't need you for a long time because we're paying for you.
Bob, do you want to go next with comments?
No, that was my comments. But
Okay.
I would like to wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I agree with what everybody said. It's nice to have.
Take your microphones off.
It's nice to have a group of people that care about each other in the city.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Assistant, Brad, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Do we need to change that number C to interim before we move on?
So, couple things. I'll try to be really quick since it's after our time we thought we'd be out of here. Dog pound. We have 6 dogs still available to be adopted. Just want everybody to know the fees are waived for those 6 dogs. So if you know anybody that needs a dog, there are 6 dogs down there that would love to have a forever home. So, I saw some pictures of them today. They're some good dogs. They're not the special breeds, but they are still dogs that will love somebody to take care of them full time. So, the fees are waived. The spade and neuter fees are waived. So, they're just basically you go get them and sign some papers and they're yours. So we'd love to get rid of those dogs before. Actually, we'd love to see them go before it gets really cold in a couple nights, but at least before Christmas. We did post something on Facebook about water pipes. We're going to post it again, just some hints and tips of how not to have broken pipes when it's this bad and when it gets this cold. So I posted it out on the Facebook page. We'll post it again. I just tell everybody, get your water running. If you know you have an outside faucet that is still hooked up to this sounds silly, But if it's hooked up to a water hose outside, you might want to disconnect it and cover it up if possible, because that could cause damage to your water lines. But I really hope we don't have that many problems with our city water lines during this extreme time of cold. But 50s will be coming up next week. So one thing Jason and I hit on earlier is ADM. We had a very good meeting with ADM last week. Myself and Scott Flater, and they are doing really well with controlling the amount and the BODs that they're bringing to us. So they are doing a very good job, and they're going to continue working on their end to get us what we need for our wastewater. And I really feel that's a good relationship that we need to continue building and go on with the future. We talked about Lake Fort Scott. Lake Fort Scott, we are still taking some water out of Lake Fort Scott, but hopefully that won't be for much longer. One of the misconceptions about it is how much we're taking out. We only opened the valve about 5 turns, so it's not opened by very much, and we're not taking very much out. And also, you really probably won't be able to tell, but the level of water actually went up a little bit in Rock Creek and the lake. Rock Creek is still really far down. That's why we're taking out of the lake to build it back up so we can get the accurate flow going through to the river. Just some things I want to say is thank you to you 5 for trusting in me. You know, I'll do the best I can tell you that. And I'm not going anywhere. So, you know, that's a promise I can tell you. I'm not going anywhere for a while. So, you know, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. You know, I don't sugarcoat things. I don't tell stories. I'm going to do what's needed and be very transparent with you and the citizens. And that's just how I work. And so we'll do things together and try to come up with our goal of being successful. But that's going to be together. But I do appreciate the confidence that you have in me. Jeff, thank you very much for helping me along the way and continuing to help me. I know you're on speed dial, so I know how to get hold of you. But again, citizens and you all, Merry Christmas. It's a great time of year, and I think we've got a great 2023 ahead of us. But thank you.
There is one thing on your report, that airport hose link.
Yes. I talked to Seth, and same hose we've had, but there is one airplane that's having a little bit of trouble. It's a bigger airplane. We are going to wait until the first of the year and order a 75-foot hose. The one we've got's a 50-foot hose. So we'll wait till the first of the year where new monies come, and then we'll buy one. And I will be posting on Facebook, hopefully tomorrow, some of our 22 accomplishments and some of our 23 goals we're going to be going after. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Jeff?
Mine will be short. I wrote a volume for you, so hope that's helpful. I've been trying to assist in making the meetings run better, and the only couple of comments. One is the state awarded the truck route study to WSP, which is a traffic consultant, and they're going to start tomorrow. We've got a Zoom meeting or team meeting at 1:00 where we're going to map out the scope, and then that scope goes back and the state will pay for it. And so, you know, Matt's been engaged in that, and we'll have some. Anyway, we're going to do that. The only other thing is that I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Remember your works study session January 10th. I'll probably see you then. And in the meantime, it's been a real pleasure. I really care for this community, care for the people, and Brad's been great to work with. He's been a tremendous professional, and he's got a great career in the profession, and I look forward to helping a little bit. And thank you for the opportunity for me to still share some of my skills.
Yeah.
So, Merry Christmas.
Thank you for stepping in, and we can tell, I think, as a whole, that you do care a lot for not only as a matter of personal pride because you're a professional, but about our unique city on its own that you do, and that's very reflective and obvious in what you do. Now we are having the hardwired phone going in, just a one-liner.
That's fine. That's fine.
Just kidding. We
Yeah.
have the greatest confidence in Brad, but I mean, it is. We know things happen, and we know that the fact that you were able to work with us to perform some type of consultative services to get him. I think Brad's going to be one of the best city managers in the state of Kansas before it's all said and done.
I do too.
Yeah, and I will say, I first met you about 2 years ago when you first came here. So you've stepped in twice
The
now.
Jeff signal.
On 2 times have been kind of hectic for the city. So
we've been through a lot together.
And like I said,
John.
I messaged you even when you weren't here over the last 2 years. So, and I know sometimes we come off, but you and I talk quite a bit. So I just want to let the citizens know that you've came in twice now, and stepped up and really helped out, because this could have went really a different way the last 2 or 3 months. And also 2 years ago, it could have went a different way. And so I appreciate that. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Josh.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Edwin Woolhall,
Yes.
Matthew Wells,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Jim Van Hookie,
Yes.